How's it going, everyone? Hopefully you're doing well. Today we're going to be going through the tier 7, sorry, tier 8, 9 and 10. Well, actually not today, but in separate videos I'm going to be going through them. Today is going to be the tier 8. I'm going to go through each of these and kind of give you my first impressions of them. It's not going to be so much of a review because you need more time with the vehicle to actually get a review. So this is just going to be like a preview, let's say. Yes, today is going to be the tier 8, which is the first. Now, the reason why I have left out the tier 7 is, one, it's just another heavy tank, right? It doesn't have the auto reloader. It's just going to play kind of the exact same way as any other heavy tank. I don't really know what the armor's like on it. I can't get into a game. I've waited 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, like, I don't know, I've waited a long time. I've waited about like half an hour to try and find a game at tier 7. I'm not waiting anymore. Yeah, like, look at the hull armor, 100, it's fine, it'll bounce some stuff. Turret armor, 100, that's not fine, it's probably going to get penned by a lot of stuff. So it's just going to be a bog standard hairy tier 7 heavy tank, which, you know, you're just going to be having to grind to get towards the tier 8, right? And the tier 8 is where the majority of people are going to spend their time. So how is the tier 8? Well, it gets good enough dispersion. It's a bit awkward, right? Because I would like to use IRM on this. However, if you use IRM, you then lose a lot of view range, and I can show you if we go into the comparison. If we go into here, if we then get rid of, let's get rid of that quickly, so you can see 471 if we had everything like maxed out. However, you go IRM, yes, you gain that extra 10%, but you then lose so much view range that you need to remember it's going to take you 37 seconds to reload fully from empty if you want to get all 3 shells. And in that time, you could be getting spotting damage by using coated optics. In the tier 9 and the tier 10, it doesn't matter that much because of the fact that they have enough view range without it. Especially if you just went and whacked on a bounty ventilation, for example. You could easily get that to 445, 446. I think it'll go to 446, right? So that's enough for a heavy tank. Whereas this, because you do have a long reload and the DPM is awful, okay? DPM, just completely useless. Aiming time, 2.1 is not good. So yes, I would like to use an IRM, but as I've already stated, I think this is going to be a little bit more important. So yeah, armor-wise of this vehicle is 100 and 180, although this 180, as you can see here, it's kind of sloped, so this might not be that bad. We'll have to test it out. Yes, it has a cupola, so, you know, going hold down isn't going to be great and, you know, not as easy, but it does have minus 9 degrees of gun depression, so you can get it down quite a bit and try and hide that cupola. But unfortunately, as soon as you go hold down, you try and use your gun depression, because this is sloped like this, it's going to make this an easier target for people to shoot at. So, yeah, diminishing returns start to take place when you are using this tank hold down, especially on a ridgeline. But yeah, like mobility-wise is fine, 45 with nearly 18 power to weight. Like, that's really good. So it's going to be plenty mobile. Concealment doesn't matter, it's a heavy tank, but like the alpha damage of 320 and the penetration of 220 on the standard rounds, which is really nice, especially at tier 8, where, you know, some tanks see like 200 pen at tier 8, and it's like, what are you meant to do with that? And 242 isn't really enough. I'll say that right now. 242 is not enough for a tier 8 that can see a tier 10 as a heavy tank. It's a heavy tank, you need to remember. This is not a medium tank. If this was a medium tank, this would be fine. that this is a heavy tank. You are going to need more penetration for heavy tanks than you are a medium tank. That's just how it works. That's the way of all the tanks. And 242 is just about enough to go through a Type 4 heavy. If you see a Type 5 heavy, it's going to be a 50-50 or actually even lower than that. You're probably going to have like a 40% chance or something like that to go through him. Even if he's, you know, showing his weak spots or whatever. You're going to have to get around the side of him to do something. And for 4,800 a shot, that's a lot of credits for 320 alpha that's probably going to bounce. 1.4 shell velocity though is very nice. But these shells are fine. It's absolutely fine. Completely standard. In tier 6, 7, 8, let's say. Maybe even some tier 9s. But tier 9 and 10, when you get to heavy tanks, you're going to want to be firing these. Like, this is the issue with this. There's very few tanks that still have weak spots that you can pen reliably with AP rounds. And that's just how it is in World of Tanks now, unfortunately. HE is good with 105 pen, but you see I don't have any. That's because I am not spending 37 seconds going to reload whatever shell I'm going to reload. Like, I could just go here and take 3, but there's no point. It's the same with any auto-loaders or auto-reloaders. I don't like to take HE. I feel it's just such a waste to your DPM, and the DPM is already low enough on these tanks that you just can't afford to do it. It's just not worth it. The only real worth it kind of thing that you could do is by loading HE first if you know that you're going to be trying to knock over some stuff to get yourself concealment, but it's a heavy tank. Like, you're not really going to be doing that as a heavy tank, so yeah, it doesn't really make sense to take HE. Apart from that, I've got everything kind of set up like normally. One thing I will say is that all of these tanks are completely blind, right? And you're going to need a very good commander. So stick Chuck Norris in these tanks if you're going to be grinding them, and progress him up and up and up as you go on. I say Chuck Norris because everyone can get him for free just by doing the missions. So yeah, the problem is with this commander is that he's also the radio operator. So he needs situational awareness and recon. As well as that, you're going to need Brothers in Arms and Sixth Sense. So that's 4 skills already. Just to make this tank almost playable, let's say. Any of these tanks, you would need these 4, well, these 3, really. These 3 are the kind of golden skills, let's say. But then after this, you go repairs and just, you know, do that. But you need these because the view range on these tanks are not good. This is with coated optics, and you're 464. Like, yeah. It's exactly the same with the other 2, but obviously with these, it's more manageable. Also, another thing, the exact same crew is in this tank as it is in that, and also the last tank. So you can carry your crew straight across, all the way up through these 3 tanks, without changing anything or worrying about losing a commander or whatever. So yeah, let's go and try and get into a game and see if we can actually play the game, right? Because I've been waiting for about 10 years on the last one, but let's go. Okay, we've finally found a game. Oh, it didn't even take me that long. It took me like, what, 10 minutes or something like that? Yeah, full tier 8 game. Let's see what we can do. Okay. So, yeah, as you can see, the speed isn't like horrible. I'll tell you what though, compared to the Bizonte, it's about... Is it about the same? I'm not really too sure. Yeah, probably about the same dispersion values as the Bizonte. Reload time wise, I will have to check. 11 seconds, so yeah, it's roughly the same as the Bizonte, right? I'll actually check after this game to see. There is someone in that bush over there. Also, I am not using colorblind mode. Let me just go and enable that quickly. The best feature about this update is that they've got the proximity circle now on the minimap. And also you can see your reload or repair time. I'm actually going to save this shell. Not going to fire again. The Borsig will probably peak again. So when you get shot at, you can actually see how long you have repair time wise. So for example, your tracks. If you get shot at, you will then get a countdown of how long you have to wait until your tracks are fully repaired. Which is the best feature I feel this update has had. He's not there at the moment. Overall, gun handling wise, feels okay. It's not super good, but it's not like, you know, really bad. Let's try and get another tracking shot. Can we kill him? No. Yes, we can. There we go. Very nice. Okay, so we put them into him, then we can return back. Reload time is still... it's a bit long. You know what, though? Overall, this isn't too bad. The hull of this tank is actually almost like a chieftain hull. Almost. It's very, very sloped. So it's going to be kind of hard for them to actually pen you from there. What we are going to do is go and put one into the Borsig. Apparently we're not. The auto-reloading mechanic is working, let's say. Like, no differently than you would expect. So, yes, it helps you out. You can reload part of your shell, sure. But honestly, I think it's a bit of a gimmick, all things considered. Like, why would you not just wait that little bit longer and then you get your full shell ready, right? The only time that I feel that it's really worth it is when it's automatic, like the first stage, when you need to fire, say, for example. Because any further than that, I don't feel it's worth it. But so far, so good. This IS-6 is probably going to try and peak this. Ew, where is that Borsig? I think we put one into him. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure, but I think we managed to get one into him. I'm a bit worried about this ELC. Okay, he's in that bush, not that bush. So that's fine. I don't really know what to do. Like, this is why I banned Airfield. Because it's just a stalemate now. Like, no one can really do anything. Actually, without RT, Airfield is actually kind of playable. Because right now, you'll just be getting dumped on by RT for no, you know, you couldn't do anything back in return. That's the main reason why I hate Airfield so much. But with this, it's not too bad. Do you reckon he'll peak again? I'm not too sure. Interestingly enough, we did actually get shot. Where did we get shot? Where did the lava hit us? I don't know. I don't have battle hits, so I can't actually see. Put one in. Yeah, we couldn't do too much. Like, we were getting flanked. Yeah. Honestly, this doesn't feel that bad. This feels okay. Like, all things considered, this isn't a bad tank, I don't think. DPM is not great, right? It's just really not great. Especially if you fired all your shots. However, it's not to the stage where it's unplayable. It's just... the problem is that things like the Carnarvon Action 10 are in the game. At the same tier. And the IS-3A and the IS-3 and all of these other tanks. And also the Carnarvon. But if you went one-on-one against a normal Carnarvon, the Carnarvon would just rip you apart if you were in this tank. So that's what you got to compare it to, its own tier tanks. And is it good at that stage? I don't really know. So yeah, we got 2.5k damage. You know what? The gun wasn't awful, but it wasn't, you know, amazing either. With bounty, I'm sure this would be absolutely playable and fine, and it's playable without bounty. As I said, the question is it better than other tier 8 heavy tanks? Is it better than the 53 TP? Not really. All things considered, not really. Like, this gets a 420 alpha damage gun that can reload every 10 seconds. The Emil 1 is by far a better tank, actually. It's even got a better gun. Let's be realistic. This, you shoot 3 times, you go for your long reload, you then go back, you just hide, come back through. The only way that you can, you know, beat the Emil 1 is if he does something wrong, and you can catch him out and just keep DPMing him by using only your 3rd shell. But then you're going to have to be reloading for all this time, waiting and hoping that he doesn't repair in that time as well. So you can't always do that. If the Emil has a good repair crew, then it's going to be faster than 10 seconds. So instantly, you track him once, and you're going to be then tracking him again, because if he repairs in, say, 5-6 seconds, you've still got another like 6 seconds to go on your reload, so you'll be wanting to fire again. And yes, you'll get some compensation for it, but there is not really too many situations where, at that point, by the time that you've shot twice, he's then got about 10 seconds left. And bearing in mind, he's already used a clip on you, let's say. Like, you're in trouble at that point. Because within that one more clip, you're going to die. So that's where the issue lies. You know what? I was going to try and play another game, but I'm really not going to sit here waiting for God knows how long for a game to appear at tier 8. So I'm going to wrap up this kind of preview of this tank. Do I think it's a bad tank? No. This isn't a bad tank. Is the Bizonte worse than this? Well, hang on. If we went and, you know, filled this tank out, like, let's even put on the optics as well. We'd have a better crew. Yes, that's true. And yeah, sure, you know, this is going to account for some stuff. But is it better than the standard tank? Well, this tank has more hit points. However, Bizonte does have better armor. Let's just all be completely realistic here. This thing has better armor than this thing. Oh, no, than this thing. It's just how it is. Like, this tank, as I said, it can get penned here when it's trying to go hold down and stuff like that. It's not got super good armor. Yes, you will bounce shots in this tank, especially from the hull. Like, the hull is really well angled. I said in the gameplay, it's a little bit like a chieftain's hull. You can see how it's kind of like bowed out like this. It's kind of similar to that, where it's kind of, you know, very sloped and very rounded. And it can still side scrape, sort of. You see how it bends out like this? You need to be careful of that, because if you side scrape like that, you see one of these, just shoot it right there, because it's going to pen. Unless they've magically made that like really thick. Right below that, the turret ring, you can just pen it, hopefully. I don't know for sure. Lower plate looks... don't try and pen it in the lower plate. Like, what is that? That's a very well angled lower plate. So, yeah. Honestly, try and go for the turret. There's probably weak spots here. I reckon that this gun port is probably a weak spot as well. Although I don't actually have confirmation on that. I would need to look in TanksGG, and I'm not going to go into that yet until they're on the live server. And remember, everything that I've played is all subject to change and could be changed before the live version gets released. Reload time though, especially when you have all 3 shells, your last shell is actually a longer reload than the Bizonte's. Meaning that the Bizonte has much better DPM than you. If you're purely trying to go for DPM and firing only the last shell, and it has a faster reload time. So not only is it better DPM, the shorter reload means that you might actually be able to keep someone permatracked with that. And remember that it still gets the better or improved auto reload mechanic, where it's going to have compensation for the next shell. So these times in between here for these two shells could, be whatever they are going to be. So Bizonte for the gun, yes, it's much worse. Like, the gun handling on Bizonte is awful. But for this tank, this isn't too bad. I didn't feel like the gun handling was bugging me at all. So, you know what? This tank is just good enough, let's say. Playable. It's not something super duper special. And thank God, because we don't need anything broken and overpowered. And the Bizonte is not broken and overpowered, because this gun is awful. At least the gun has good gun handling, so you can use coated optics to get that view range up. And yeah, this, I feel, is a decent tank. It's not awful, but it's not great. So yeah, that has been my little preview of the Progetto 54. Hopefully you did enjoy. Tomorrow I will be releasing the Progetto C50 Mod 66, the tier 9, and we'll go and see what that is like. And then the day after, the Rhino Charonte. But yeah, if you did enjoy, then you know what to do. Leave a like if you did, and dislike if you didn't. It all helps me out. And I will see you all in the next one.